Welcome to this talk organized by the Freedom Book Fair. Today's session is New Mechanisms of Censorship. This is the first time the Freedom Book Fair is doing a talk with a plan of reviving our book fair in the summer. But there is also there are more reasons we're doing the talk today, because as you can see, the title is called New Mechanisms of Censorship, which may not give a lot of idea about the topic of the discussion today, but those of who you actually read the topic today, you know that this is very much about Bangladesh, which is also the country which was our main concern when the book fair started, because it was the Bangladeshi writers, several Bangladeshi bloggers and writers who were killed back in 2015 because they were blamed to be atheists and heretics, or people who hurted religious feelings, and many of them got killed. Although it was not just atheist writers back then, there was also religious leaders who were killed, people who held a different opinion. Also editor of a homosexual magazine was also killed, and so yeah, it was a lot of there was a lot of murder back in 2015 and 16, and that was also the time when I arrived here as one of the exiled writer, and that was also the time when I met Pritha, and we were talking about I was talking about how after I became a writer, how the book fair was such a great place for me, because as a writer, being in a book fair, seeing my book in the the bookstall and meeting readership, it was such a great experience. But that was the first year for me when I wouldn't be in the book fair, which was the biggest literary festival there. And because I wouldn't be, because in 2015 February, Ovijit Roy, a Bangladeshi writer who was killed just in front of the book fair, and that was the beginning of everything. And it had a huge traumatic impact on me too, because I was there too that night. And I mean, I didn't witness it, but the rest of the thing, I was in the hospital and everything. And in any case, what I'm just saying is, that was 2015 February. By 2016 February, I'm here. So we were Pritha suddenly, said something that was something that I think I was also thinking, but it came from you right away, that we should do a book fair here, a protest book fair. And I was like, yes, let's do it. And that's how we started to do the Freedom Book Fair. We commemorated the writers and the editors and the publishers who lost their life from 2015 February. And that was a half day of book fair focused on Bangladesh. But ever since then, for the next few years, it became much bigger, not just Bangladesh, because the reality is what is happening in Bangladesh is not just happening in Bangladesh. There are many other countries where freedom of expression is under attack from all kind of oppressive group, whether it's the government apparatus or whether it's far-right groups who wants to silence any opposing views or different opinion. So we did more book fairs, and it was with other countries, the diaspora communities, and many organizations joining in, and publishers from many different countries joining in. It became kind of a public sphere where diaspora writers, exiled writers, artists, immigrant communities, they kind of comes together. That's how it was developing in The Hague. But then the lockdown started, and we had to stop. So today I'm just, I'll start my. The reason we're doing the book fair, because there is new book bans in Bangladesh. There is one of our speakers, Syed Fayaz Tayyib. His book was also banned from the book fair this year. And we'll kind of also update the audience today that how the situation in Bangladesh is right now, which was once the atheist bloggers were being persecuted. Now it's all kind of bloggers, all kind of writers. So I would actually start the discussion with Pritha, who is one of the founder of the Freedom Book Fair. And I will ask her to give you guys a little bit of idea, from her perspective. I already told about my perspective, how I was motivated to start this book fair. So Pritha would give a short introduction of how the book fair was started. Then we'll move to Fayyaz Taib, who is our main speaker and will tell us about like the Bangladeshi situation. At the end, we'll talk with Yaqub about the like how like the civil society here can like affect the situation back in Bangladesh, or like how we are like going to face all this like global like crisis on freedom of expression these days, and like what kind of perspective we must achieve. So I'll start with Pritha. I mean, would you give us any like your perspective? Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you, Parvez, also for inviting me tonight, to tell about how it all started. I know you asked me, like, can you tell how it started? And I had to dig, like, how did we start? And well, first of all, I think it's good to tell how we met. You were here under the Shelter City project. I was working for Justice and Peace Netherlands. I'm not sure if I was also doing already things for the Hague Peace Project. I don't think yet, but it was around the time. And we met here in Amsterdam, and you started telling, and well, I don't know if you know Parvez, but once he starts talking, he doesn't stop. No. And then you told about the book fair in Bangladesh. And I had been in Bangladesh for work, but never to the book fair or in, well, what you were talking about. And also in the Netherlands, I had never been to a book fair. So, I mean, how is it so important? Well, I wasn't thinking that, but I saw, and I listened to you, and I saw it really meant a big deal for you. And I mean, you were here, and at that time we didn't know from how long you would be staying here. But you had colleagues, colleague writers, co-authors, fellow authors, also in other parts of the world. So there were people in Germany, in Sweden, in the US. UK even, I think, I don't remember. And listening to you, I think in one of our chats came up the idea, so okay, if you can't be at the book fair there, why don't we organize something here? And I mean, I can't change the situation in Bangladesh, but we can do something here. And well, I mean, that's how it started. And then we thought it was a good idea, and other people thought it was a good idea. Jacob thought it was a good idea. And within a month and a half or something, or 2 months, we organized the first one. And it brought together all those different authors. And I remember, like, I don't remember if I had to book tickets. I think everyone did it themselves, but they came from all parts of Europe, all together, and together here in The Hague, not here in The Hague, but there in The Hague. And it started off something. And yeah, that's what I contributed to the book fair. And that's what, yeah, I can tell. That's what you wanted to hear, right? Or is there anything else to tell?
It's up to you. Yeah. I mean, what you at the time experienced, you already gave us an idea. So I think if you want to add something later, you can always do that. Yeah. So yeah.
Can I add something?
Yes, please go on.
I think what was very special about this event, and which gave it some sort of the first event, and actually also the next events, what gave it some sort of, I don't know, almost. I don't know the right word in English, but very.
Embarrass?
Sorry?
Embarrass?
No, what gave it a very sort of serious and almost, I don't know the right word in English, but let's say almost sacred event. It's a strange word. It's the fact that we had the wife, we had Bonna, who's a writer from Bangladesh, and who was the wife of Avijit Roy. And she was, I think it was exactly 1 year after he was killed. And she was hurt very much during that same attack, because she was there during the attack on Avicii, and it was actually quite, I don't know, I was quite struck. Everyone, I think, there was very, it was very shocking. It was very moving also that she stood there as a strong woman that she is, and she brought together like a big part of the intellectual diaspora from Bangladesh, from all over Europe. It was a very special moment, and it gave really sort of a powerful image of the resilience of the Bangladeshi community that was at that moment very much hurt and chased away. So it was very sad and also very beautiful at the same time, I want to say.
No, thanks for saying that, because I think that was one of the main thing about the book fair. Like, if I would like to express, like when Preeta was saying, like, my friends, I mean, I would still say co-author. I mean, not all of them are my friend. There were like a couple of them which I would call friend, but most of them were just co-author. And I had like huge debate with them. I was always like in debate with them, including Ovijit Roy, the author who got killed. I had a debate happening with him for 3 months. And, but as I'm saying, like, beyond those debates, beyond those difference of opinion, at the end, you know, we all were victim to an oppressive regime and, you know, a oppressive kind of politics. And now, like, including like Fayez Taib, to whom I would actually go, I mean, I would say we are politically kind of always in debate, in opposition.
Enemies.
Huh?
Enemies, no.
Not enemies. I mean, we can have we can sit and have a proper discussion here. And we also share the same publishing house now. I mean, when I came here, like Ovijit Roy and I had a common publisher, and he was also attacked after I came here. And he was also part of the first book fair. He came from Sweden. He was the only survivor of the attack. And after he was out of the country, I didn't have any publisher. Then I got a new publisher. And my new publisher is, oh no, I already got a new publisher while he was here. He was there, but in any case, now my new publisher was banned this year book fair because of publishing his book and 2 others writer books and they're not like considered to be left-wing or atheistic or like, you know, critical to religion. They are mainly attacked, and Fayez actually writes about like books on economics and sustainable development. He'll talk about it. And Fayez is a very popular writer in terms of like reaching popular audience. So the thing is, but now, I mean, even they are like being silenced. And it's not just these 3 writers. There are like 300 writers who publish from the same publisher, and none of their book from the Adarsha Prakashani, we have the same publisher, was part of this book fair, because the book fair organizing committee just banned them, and there was a lot of legal fiasco. We would hear from Fayez Taib, so I would directly go to him now. So Fayez, my first question to you is like, if you would give us a little bit of idea what happened in this year book fair, which started with like with a complaint of one writer, then you and Jia Hassan, another writer, and then there was a lot of also legal, like, you know, like tug and like tug war, and then there were some legal issues. Can you give us like a bit of an idea and also your experience, what happened?
Okay, first of all, thanks for inviting me, and so if we start a little bit of the background of the book fair itself, when it comes to the publishing industry of Bangladesh, the National Book Fair is very important, because the total sales, yearly sales, if we count it, take it into measure, 40% of the yearly sale happens during this month-long book fair. So that's very important for the publishers and also for the authors, for both sides. Okay, and there is another aspect of it. Recently, over the recent years, in Bangladesh, there is an online bookstore called Rokumari. Okay, and that also is accountable for 40% of the book sale of the yearly volume. Okay, so when it comes to publishing and and so on in the industry. This too is very important. These two are really important. So this year, last 2 years, due to Corona and lockdown, book fair happened in a very limited version, so was not that much in focus. But this year it was in full fledged. As you know, it starts from 1st of February, which is the Language Martyrs Month, and highly celebrated and highly discussed in the country, and ends at the end of the month of February. So, so normally publishers, they apply for this stall, and there are two types of this stall. One is the pavilion, which is very spacious, and the other one is small stalls. So big publishers, based on their book selling volumes, they got multiple stalls successively and make a big shop type of big outlet of it. So when it comes to Adarsh, our publisher, okay, let me talk about a little bit of his background. He was a student activist of Bangladesh Student Union, which is similar to SP here, okay, or a little bit of PVDA, okay. And so what he did, actually, he brought up on a new idea. Instead of stereotyping the publishing house as it always does in Bangladesh, normally the Islamist groups have their own publishing house and the leftist group have their own publishing house. So he came out of the stereotype and he accommodated almost all the segments of the society, including leftist, the far right, center right, and all societies, all part of the society. So he has got a very vibrant panel of authors. As you heard from Parvez, uh, so this year it all started with 3 books, and out of these 3 books, one is mine. 2 of the books is written on development economics, and the first one is maybe I can tell you the name. It's called the Development Diaspora or something like this. So the person, he opposed the narrative of the development of the regime, which is running into power since 2009, successive 14 years, and they're still counting to remain in longer tenure. So he actually economically, with statistics and economic kind of academic analysis, he showed that the development narrative that is placed by the government is not the reality. So he tried to open up the reality with formal academic analysis. Okay, the one I wrote is also on development, but more on sector level policies. Okay, so we criticizes different policies, different sectoral policies of development with examples and so these 2 books really challenge the development narratives of the country. So what happens when it comes to an authoritarian government? Development is always one of the leading narrative, which has been also the case of Bangladesh. So there are, and the 3rd book actually is kind of different in nature. It actually targeted the nationalistic, the lingual and the ethnic nationalistic structure of the regime. Okay, so together 2 books challenged the development narratives and one challenged the nationalistic or cultural narrative of the regime. And because in 3 books the common ground is the author, and they targeted him. So when they targeted him, there are 2 parts of it. One is official and the other is unofficial. Maybe I'm taking too much time. You can stop me. So when first maybe I can explain about the official part. The official part is the academy, who is a state organization responsible for holding this book fair, national book fair, is called Bangla Academy. So it's a very, it's a kind of a conglomerate of the intellectuals of the country. Okay, so and the intellectuals, authors, and the veterans, teachers, they are the members of the academy. Okay, so and also there is there is a separate body of the publishers. So the issue is when a unaccountable regime continues for long, they create pockets in everywhere. So that's how we have in Bangladesh every state organizations, autonomous authorities, and also non-government authorities are overpopulated with the head counts with the pro-regime people. Okay, and even there, they are not same groups. There are multiple groups of them. So to get the benefit of from the government, okay, there is fight again among themselves. Okay, so these sectors make these situations even worse for us who criticize the government or who try to establish a different narrative. So here it started with this. They first said that the Bangla Academy body, they said that these three books have dissenting voice. Though they are not very much careful, but they exactly use this word, that these books has dissenting voices, and so we can't allow them having a stall in the book. And later then, when this issue has been picked up by the media, and then they change their stance. Okay, they change it, and now they are saying that instead of three books, they targeted the one challenging the cultural stuff. Okay, so they say that particular book had had some bad words or sentences, bad criticisms against the father of the nation, against the prime minister, these and that. I mean the ruling central characters. Okay, and then the publisher applied that, okay, I would like to have, I would like to stand with my writers, something like this. So he appealed again because he said he has followed the rules and there is no written letter to him that why he is not allocated with this stall. And then they called him over the phone and asked him if he can sacrifice these three books. So on the same phone call, he stand by the writers, by his authors, and so he was denied. Okay, and after a few days, he applied again because he had a plan to go to the court, and he eventually went to the court. Okay, so when he went to the court, the judge gave little bit of in favor of him, saying that okay, these three books would not be shown into the stall, but rest of the authors has to be given access to the fair because they are financially they are suffering. Okay, both the publishers and the authors. Okay, but the Bangla Academy, the pro regime part of the body, they appealed on the higher court against it, and then the bench actually first embarrassed. They embarrassed to do a hearing on that. Okay, and then something very interesting thing happened is the Attorney General of the state, he came into the picture. Okay, and the issue was picked up by the Chief Justice himself. And when we asked the lawyer what was there any opportunity to him given to him to say his voice, he says it was just 1 minute of time the Chief Justice offered him to explain his stance, to his position, just 1 minute, and he could not tell anything within that. And Chief Justice, himself finally denied. Okay, so which means not only the state but also the judiciary failed completely to stand unconditionally with the authors and with the publishers. Okay, so this is the official part of it, and the unofficial part, it as I started, there are multiple sectors within the regime in each of the bodies, and then they are fighting each other to get financially benefited. Okay, so because there is financial conflict of interest, and one of the interest I can explain here is if you have a publisher, okay, and you can get an opportunity to sell 5,000 books to the government per year, because government has a library department and they normally buy pro-regime related voices. Okay, so those books voicing government's narratives, praising the national characters, okay, uh, they normally books. So what happens, these groups always fight each other to sell more, because one publishing house can offer 3 books, and that makes them big business. Okay, and so what it happens that the same publisher, they create multiple publishing houses. Okay, so multiple banners, keeping the publishing the supply chain same, and they multiply it with three folds. Okay, so reportedly there is a guy who actually um, tried to bypass other shows a few prominent writers, okay, and take them to their house, okay, and so he and a few of them, a small group, they started the journey, the whole story. So they tried to ban other show because their plan was to take away this young popular writers to their publishing house. And in 2019 it is started. They first blocked other show, okay, then he fighted and get this tall. But this year they convinced some of the members of the of Bangla Academy, and also the cultural minister himself. So this year the fight was actually went far behind the scene and found behind the curtain, and actually we all failed. We try a lot, and 3 of the writers, we gave him the permission, okay, please accept their condition, because it's like a war of David Goliath, so you cannot win them. So instead, so sacrifice our books and accept their conditions, but still he was not succeeded. So this is the official and unofficial stories of other show. So but the main thing is, the state body has failed to stand beside freedom of expression unconditionally. The court failed, and also the minister of culture, which means the government also. So the censorship came from different part of the state. So it's a kind of all-out censorship. Though I would say, I must acknowledge that my book is not 100% banned. It's banned from the book fair. As I said, 40% of the yearly sale happens there, and also my book was banned from the online store, country's largest online store, and a few other online stores. And unofficially, the agencies are pushing the publisher to completely take up the manuscript, okay, so that they don't publish it anymore. Okay, so this is the story. And then if we further go into it, so this is later on a few other books has been banned. One of them is actually is not with government. One of them with privacy related things. A writer living in Paris, okay, she wrote, but normally what happens, actually nobody complained about the privacy. So maybe if you have a claim that the book offended my privacy, okay, formally, then it can be in the picture, but without having any clue, the body proactively banned it. Okay, so this was the fourth one. The fifth one he was a university teacher. Okay, he said he wrote satire story related with a president, but it's a president of any organization, not the president of the country. But because the name was so offensive, he also got banned. And the sixth one was like, it was not Bangla Academy book fair. It was from online bookstore. It was called Dog Ate the Democracy. So the title was this. Okay. So someone asked him why the title is like this. What does it mean? So he said, he was a student of Harvard. So he says, when I was a student of Harvard, I used to teach small school students to earn money. So one day, one of his students told him a dog ate his housework. Okay, so he liked the term, and he named his book on this same, the dog ate democracy. So they related it with the country's undemocratic situation, and they also banned his book from the online store. So when it comes to Bangladesh, as Parvez started, it all started with 2013 to 2014, 2015. At that time, many of the bloggers has been attacked and targeted. So, there was cat and rat game on that. Who was the responsible? Is the Islamist groups, or the political groups, or the agencies, and those who whom knows Bangladesh very well. We know all three sectors are involved in this game. Okay, and the intention is to reject all the anti-regime narratives. So it reminds me the poem that when they didn't find anybody, they take you. So it started with the atheist bloggers, and then it started with the Islamist, and now it is spread such a way that everybody who has a dissenting voice, who is trying to challenge the narrative of the regime, is attacked, and severely attacked. Not only them, their relatives. I can give you, there are some exiled journalists of Bangladesh living in the Paris, in the US, in many parts of the Europe. Okay, their families are attacked. It's happening every week almost. This week, an investigative journalist brother was attacked this week. Okay, and the thing is, the censorship is not coming only from the government. It also comes from part of the media. Okay, because the media houses are owned by pro-government owners. Okay, so how it happened? It was not like this is same before 2013, 2012 or so. So the media houses has been peacefully overtaken with the association of the agencies. Okay, so now almost all the media houses are pro-regime, almost, not 100%, because there are some established media houses who have strong leftist background, because they also have some alignment with the cultural line of the regime. Okay, so they are not attacked. Okay, so it's like if you are enemy or not, something like this. If you are, when the government knows that these two freedom house, like I can name it, the Daily Star and the Pratham Alo, okay, where I also write columns, but the founder, the editors has very strong leftist background. Okay, and those leftist, some fraction of it has still now in the ally of the government. So that's why they are somehow surviving, but they are not surviving very well.
It's almost, I have to actually,
Yeah.
if you wanna, like, maybe in the next couple of minutes,
Yeah.
wanna finish, then I can go.
Okay, so overall, the censorship comes from political environment. It comes from the media house. It comes from the publishing in the industry, and not about the laws list the opposition politics also. I can conclude with a summary that Asian Human Rights Council, they works on in Bangladesh aspects, Amnesty International aspects, works Human Rights Watch aspects. So Asian Human Rights says that since 2009, almost 623 people, okay, recordedly, they were enforced disappeared in the country, and besides this, there were more than 2,000. The exact number is around 2,258 or so, and extrajudicial killings in the country. So these are enormous numbers, okay? These are enormous numbers. So this has happened. This has caused the whole diaspora completely different before and after. So now the country, when it comes to freedom of speech, you can see the reports from United States Human Rights, United Nations Human Rights Statement report, European Commission's Human Rights report, everywhere, okay, and also if you see the democratic score of the country is also, I mean, lowest in the history of the country. So the freedom of expression, it comes from many domains, and because the government agencies has two sanctions, international sanctions from US State Department and US Treasury Department, okay, they can't directly ban a book because it's too luxurious for them to avail the third sanction. So they are doing it in a smart way by pushing the publisher, by taking away the author, by blackmailing the narratives. So this is happening in the country. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Fayaz. I mean, this is, I guess it's already clear to all of you why we talked about like new mechanisms of censorship. Because the thing is, if the government directly bans a book, they're going to be under more pressure because there is, I mean, the Bangladeshi government is at least being blamed for human rights violation quite a lot. And so what they're doing now is they're like deploying new mechanisms and like, as he mentioned, blackmail, intimidation, so many different kind of things. And I mean, they don't do that anymore like very straightforwardly because there are some sanction kind of hanging on their like shoulder right now. And one writer called Kajol was also killed in police custody last year. So ever since then, they've become like more dependent on like public institutions like Bangla Academy or bookshop like Rokumari. But the thing is, as he mentioned, this is actually happening since 2015. I mean, in 2015, Bangladeshi writers were getting killed. They were getting killed by Islamic terrorist organizations. They were taking responsibility. But it is pretty clear that the government agency, like the police agencies were like, certain agencies were letting it happen. It was very clear because they wouldn't, because the thing is, if people like us are getting killed or getting out of the country, that doesn't hurt the government at all because the number thins, like the dissenting voice goes down, and on the other hand, the narrative of the war on terror also becomes more powerful, so they can sell themselves to the West in a much better way that why we use excessive power because we have terrorism problem. So these are the different kind of methods and mechanisms that they are employing. And in terms of Rokumari, also the same. That's like, just because they are the biggest online bookshop, they are doing a lot of things like in collaboration with the government. And they are the bookshop who banned Ovijit Roy's book, the author who got killed in 2015, 26th of February, the first day of the book fair when he started the book fair, as a commemoration exactly in his death day. His books were banned from the next year book fair. His books were, I mean, like, not banned, just the publishing house was not there. Nobody was keeping his book. The Rakumari removed his book, even when he was alive. And after his death, I requested personally and also wrote about it to allow his book to be sold. They didn't do it. Rather, my most popular book was removed from that site in 2020. So this has been happening, and like, you know, now it has become like they can just remove anyone they wish. And specifically now the people are being targeted are exactly the people like us who actually no longer live in the country, so we can speak freely because we're not afraid of being intimidated or being blackmailed by them anymore. But in any case, I'm just actually, the second question I was going to ask you, you already answered this. So I'm actually going to go to Jakob after this, if that's okay.
I can make a comment here. When
yeah.
my book was banned, taken off from Rakumari this year, I directly contacted with the CEO because he's from the same university I studied. Okay, so I knew him before. So he referred me to his manager, to the sales manager, head of sales. So I contacted the guy, and he said it's directly forwarded me to the referred me to the agencies. He said agencies forced him to take my book off. Okay, this is the answer he directly gave me. But I don't know the true picture of this. I could not validate it.
Well, I don't know that either. I mean, agency also does strange thing. The book that was removed from Rakumari was exactly a book that certain RAB people actually claims that helped them to kind of heal certain terrorists. And that's why they will even ask for my help. But I've been always like, you know, I'm never gonna like mix up with this. What happened with another researcher, Mubashir Hassan, a researcher on terrorism. He disappeared suddenly. Probably he discovered something, so he disappeared for a few days, then or probably, I don't know, weeks. Then he came back and now he's out of the country. So there's a lot of strange things happening there. But in any case, I just want to add one last thing that I'm gonna go to Jakub, which is like, when you were talking about the two media houses, I actually remember that I know that they also have a like cultural alignment with certain cultural alignment with the government, but they're also not the kind of media that actually are afraid of speaking against the government. They were specifically silenced by intimidation, by cutting off their advertisement. I actually remember that pretty, so if such a big organization, if you cut down their advertisement,
Exactly.
they can't do anything.
Exactly.
So in any case, I'm actually gonna go to Jakob now because, I mean, we've seen like the book fair, which we started, as you guys already know, from 2016, we're doing it here, and the situation haven't improved, not there. And I can't say that situation have improved anywhere in the world. There are many other countries, if we like look at them, I mean, we're gonna actually bring other countries in discussion in the Freedom Book Fair, maybe in the summer or maybe next month, who knows. But the thing is, as far as I'm concerned, the things have changed. It haven't changed. It went worse. So my question to Jakub is two questions. I'll ask you together. One is, you're pretty much aware of like the Bangladeshi government's lobby and networking in Netherlands. They have quite a bit of, you know, especially it increased a lot recently because since they have been in a bit of pressure from outside, so they're like trying to lobby a lot. On the other hand, what is happening there's a lot of voice here who would like, at least as you can see, Bangladesh is something of a less interest here, but at least, you know, like if you people talk here, at least some people knows, and then other people knows a bit, and then maybe we can find something to do. But the thing is, how you, as a person from here, as an artist, as a human rights defender, as a peace activist, how do you actually think, like, let's say us, the Bangladeshis here, and the civil societies here, you, Pritha, Dorota, like Doni Metropolis or Hague Peace Project, how we can actually maybe like help the Bangladeshi, like you know, writers and those who are actually fighting at this moment, and other writers, journalists, everyone. And considering where the world is now, how do you see, like, you know, like not just Bangladesh, like the whole theme of freedom, like, you know, where we are now? Where do you think this moment we're going, like from a more of a global perspective, if I ask you? Yeah, so that's pretty much my question to you.
Thanks, Parvez. Thanks also for being invited to speak here. You asked some pretty big questions. And
Maybe stick to one fast.
Yeah.
10 minutes. Huh?
10 minutes. The state of the freedom currently in the world. But I'm not ridiculing it because it's very relevant and important. The first thing I would like to say, if I listen to your story about Bangladesh and what happens there recently, it sounds quite terrifying, especially hearing the number of people disappearing and yeah, having to flee the country, etc. That's terrifying, and of course something like that does not take place here. Let's be very clear about that. We have no forced disappearances of authors or thinkers. Then again, the other thing I was thinking, but we also do not really have such a vibrant intellectual community. If I listen to you, I hear your problems, but I'm also envious a little bit of you having such a big book fair and this being a big deal. A book fair would never be a big deal in the Netherlands. Let me be very frank. It's very different. I think in our societies there's also, you can talk about censorship is not the right word, but a lack of freedom and pressure on people to say the right thing. But it's very different, works very differently. And I don't want to be cynical, but let me say there seems to be an advantage in, let's say, maybe a hidden advantage in the oppression that you experience, and that is that it seems that the government is listening to you. If they may hate you, and they may try to erase you from the public record, but they actually seem to read your books, and they seem to be actually afraid of people reading your books and then taking over your ideas. And that is, as horrible as it is, that, I mean, the consequences of the oppression, there's something to be desired from that situation in the Netherlands. Because, yes, you can say everything you want here, but nobody will listen. It's not an issue. I can say whatever I want. I can have a very strong, let's say, deep criticism of our current government, of Rutte and Hoekstra and whatever they do, but who cares, you know? Okay, you say that, so whatever. We move on. Yeah, that's very different, and there's no oppression. You can say everything, but who's listening? And sorry, it seems very paradoxical, but I heard the stories also from the, some sort of past human rights defenders from the Soviet Union, for instance. Like the more oppressive a government seems to be, like you're describing actually a government becoming increasing its stranglehold on civil society, like the Soviet Union had, and maybe Russia today has. What is, like, it is terrible, but there's one advantage, is that the people mostly know where the censorship is coming from. They know where the sort of the enemy is, the public enemy is. They know I'm not allowed to read this, so this must be interesting somehow. So they're sort of, the attention is automatically, you know who's trying to stifle your freedom of opinion, freedom of expression. So somehow you're gonna look for the right information. So there is something there. So I'm sorry, I don't want to sound cynical, but there is a real public debate. It seems there is real intellectuals in Bangladesh. There's real people caring for development of Bangladesh in the future, and they want to write about it, and the government is scared of it. And so there's an intellectual sort of debate. There's groups in society who think this, and there's other groups in society who think this, and they try to write about it and convince each other. I'm sorry to say, but we don't have that in the Netherlands. There's no intellectual debate on whatever, is there? I mean, we have groups. I mean, I know you're involved in climate activism. This is actually, since a long time, this is becoming more of a sort of a serious movement. But I want to say something else, and I'm very much concerned with peace building, as the organization I represent, like the Hague Peace Project. There's nobody interested in peace in the Netherlands. There's no discussion about peace, even though we have a very big war in Europe going on, which threatens to confront two nuclear armed powers, and we are just there's no discussion about it. There's not even a discussion about it. There's like, so. What kind of freedom is that then? I'm also confused. I don't have the answers, but like in your situation, the kind of lack of freedom seems like a sort of a classical model of an oppressing force and civil society fighting against that oppressing force and trying to express themselves. And there's cat and mouse fight between the two. There's nothing here. There's not even, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit to make the point, but there's just a lack of debate in general. There's a lack of intellectual depth. There's a lack of profound analysis of what's going on in society. There's lots of things going on, lots of things going wrong. But is there anyone really analyzing it, criticizing, bringing it to the fore? Is there any platform in media to discuss that? Is there any... I return to the topic of the war in Ukraine. It's like, to give an example, like it seems obvious. It seems sort of, there's no, like, it's like, okay, Ukraine is being attacked by Russia, and we have to arm them. That's the whole debate that there is. There's no depth to it. There's no context about what happened before. Why is Russia attacking? There's no question. You cannot even question it. If you question it, you're branded a pro-Putinist or whatever, you know? So we have a kind of, we don't have that kind of classical oppression that you have, but we also have no public debate. And we have, I don't know, we are sort of automatically seem to be moving like in a sort of way that's already automatically expected of us, and there's little criticism of people. You can say whatever you want about Rutte, but he's still there. I mean, he's not moving. So sorry for that rant, sort of kind of a bit. So I'm concerned about the West and about the lack of diversity in opinion, and that we are moving gradually into a more conformist society. I mean, I love these spaces like where we are now, like Pakhuis de Zwijger. These are small, it's a niche in society, and we can say everything, but we'll sort of stay in the margins, because you can say what you want, but in your own corner, we if you don't mind, we just don't notice you, okay? So go on and talk, we don't really care. So that's different, and I want to mention that. And what to do about it is, that's an even bigger question. Yeah. But let me stop here for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, that's all right. I mean, sorry, that's all right. No, thanks. I mean, I know that, don't say sorry about like speaking out your mind at this moment. And all I want to say is Bangladesh is outside of the wall. That's how I see it. So
outside of the wall?
Outside of the wall. So
wall?
Europe is like a walled community.
The garden, as Joseph Borrell.
It's garden.
Did you all hear that comment of the so-called Foreign Affairs Minister of the EU? We are the garden. You are the jungle.
Yeah. You are the garden.
Yeah.
And
but the garden, there's I don't know.
No. So what is in any case? So the thing is, this is the garden, and this is a walled garden, and obviously in garden there is rules of like so there is some kind of conformity, the conformity that is, and that's not going to be something like that's how conformity is kind of produced in Bangladesh, where it's produced by violence, like direct violence, sovereign power. Here it's produced more by what, like in a Foucauldian term, would be like biopower, so creating a kind of certain kind of docile subjectivity. But, I mean, the thing is, outside of wall, there is more death, and thus there is also certain kind of more life you would see in things happening.
It seems so from a distance.
What I'm just saying is like, yeah, exactly. So what I'm just saying is there is certain like the vibrant, in terms of debate and the political, so there is some kind of like vibrant situation there. I would agree that outside of the wall there is certain kind of freedom too. Believe me, I think so too. But that freedom also is something that you have to fight all the time for, and violently, by giving life, This is why there is a very famous quotation by a very famous Bangladeshi writer, and he wrote in 1971, when like Bangladesh was kind of facing a genocide from Pakistan. So just after the independence, he wrote a book called The New Formation of Intellectualism. I'm talking about Ahmed Safar's book. And that's where I think the first line he wrote is, we're living in a time when we have to think with blood. So we have to think by giving blood. Without giving blood, we can't even think. So what I'm saying is, yes, there's a maybe certain in terms of debate and thought, there's a lot of lively debate there. But this lively debate is also like it's a lively debate where sometimes you have to give your life. So that's the situation. But on the other hand, I see your frustration about Europe, but I don't think that's, I mean, it's maybe a bit different topic, but I don't think the current crisis of Europe has to do with, mainly a lack of debate or something. There's a lot of things people talk about, debate about, but there are certain boundaries that you are not supposed to cross. Because if you cross those boundaries, then it's easy for, as you said, you can't cross that. And I think that has to do with the current lackluster situation of Europe about its direction. It doesn't know any other direction than the direction given by the US policy makers. And I think that's a terrible thing, and that's exactly why Europe must start thinking about what is happening outside of the wall from its own perspective, from its own, it has to have its own thought, not just following blindly the US language and policy that is happening since the whole neoliberal era, which is the very reason about this current conformity, if you ask me, after the 78 student movement and after 71's, everything have changed. All the, dissenting voices have become somewhat, there is dissent, like in the academia, we do have dissenting way of, doing like revolutionary theory practice. But in any case, long story short, so yeah, I think like maybe, I would say it's more being engaged, like as I asked you about this question, like, yes, the Bangladeshi government is coming here, trying to make friends, trying to spend money, trying to make more connection, and trying to strengthen its narrative of war on terror, while allowing the writers to get killed, to get banned. How do you think you can maybe just, so this could also be like an option for like seeing differently than like, just like US has a plan about Bangladesh, of course, and they are the most active voice. They are the one giving sanction.
Yeah.
But like, is there nothing that Europe can do in this situation that is not US policy, but there?
During the past year, I've become very, to be honest, I've been always a bit anti-revolutionary, in a sense that I very much believe in change, and we need change, and on so many fronts, politically, and the attitude towards our planet, etc. There's so many change we need, but the reality just has shown the past decades that a real revolution triggered by people who want this change never brought never realized the promises that the revolution was supposed to bring. So I could now, as an answer to you, say, okay, you have to protest, get in the streets, organize, and throw over this regime. I actually, to be very honest, don't believe in that anymore. I mean, I never really believed in it because, you have seen the Arab Spring, what has come from it. We had so much hope, and you saw in Egypt people on the street, and it was really wow what happened. And then a couple of months later, a couple elections later, and there's the same old, So, and even it can become worse. Look at Libya. That was it a revolution? It was also a bombing campaign, but it's now chaos, and it's war, and people die, etc. Syria, totally wrecked country, even though I sympathize 100% with the protesters for freedom of expression and freedom from these evil regimes. I 100% support that. But the actual result of, that was concrete, you can say human rights action by the EU. So I would not, it would be how you say, attractive now to push that narrative. But actually, I don't believe in it.
No, I'm not pushing that narrative at all, because to be honest, I myself is not doing that. Like one of the main Bangladeshi intellectuals recently did a seminar in Bangladesh, in Hotel Sheraton, and inviting a lot of embassies, and he was actually talking about revolution. But after that, I actually wrote something. Revolution, if it happens from the people, the best you can do is support it. If you call revolution from up, this is, I'm going to back up. So what I'm just trying to say is still, like as you can say, we, the Bangladeshi writers, we fight according to, whatever we can. And it's not like all-out revolutionary thing. It's also play. It's also play of strategies and tactics, you know?
But maybe just one thing, because maybe you don't want Europe to be involved. That's just what I want to say, because we only can think now in terms of weapons and aggression and military interventions.
That way.
Look, I mean, why is Ukraine now such a mess? It's because we supported such a revolution in Maidan in 2014. Yeah, it was maybe not the best regime, but this is the ultimate consequence of what we pushed then. Yeah. So, but I only want to say, like, and it's maybe an sort of I don't know, but I truly believe in it. And it like the very soft approach. And what is that? It's still opening debate, opening dialogue. So I don't know. I don't know Bangladeshi society as much, of course, as you do, but try to establish a platform where these topics can be discussed. Also, I don't know how hard it might be, and maybe I'm easy talking from here, from the safe West, etc. But I very much believe in people talking. I mean, it's very soft. It's nothing like what's people talking, but people talking is everything, in fact.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying, because that's why I mean, my main thing is, you know, when I was talking about, it's more about like how the civil societies here and there can find some common, you know, thing to do to.
We don't have a civil society, unfortunately.
I think you're being too pessimistic today. But hey, thanks a lot. Oh,
I have one question.
yes, please.
Just to wrap up and bring us back to books, actually. I've been wondering, if I would be living in Bangladesh and I would want to buy your book, which has been banned, could I buy it? Can I get it? Like, no, I'm not sure what
Yes, you can buy if you can reach the publisher. So you have to buy directly from the publisher.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means all other supply chain has been curtailed. So you can you have to buy you have to reach the publisher personally, then you can buy. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so normally people send a mail or Facebook message to their
The dark web.
WhatsApp, something like this, and then they can buy. So yeah, at this moment it's very risky for them because they are already, as I said, they are already under 2 U.S. sanctions. The law and order agencies are the elite force of the country is under 2 U.S. sanctions. So they are fearing about the third. Okay, so 10th December, last 10th December, there was a real fear that many more sanctions will follow, and so that's why I'm saying that, as I say, they are going through the new mechanisms of censorship. So it's like, you know, there is a novel called 1984, the George Orwell. So it's an Orwellian state. So Big Brother is watching you, and so the main objective of this censorship is not to catch this particular publisher. No, the regime want to stop the dissenting voice overall. He is sending a message to all other publishers that if you are going to publish this type of book again, this type of text again, then your business is gone. As other show is facing, maybe until many years to come, the same publisher will not be allocated with a stall. Okay, so what will happen? The 300 authors who has published his book through this publishing house, many of them will try to go to another publishing house and publish books who does not have any dissenting voice, who does not criticize bring any critical narrative to the society. Just so with this, what will happen? Many authors will die. Okay, so this is the real fear, and dissenting voices will die. Okay. What he said, maybe I can add to you. Maybe the intellectuals in the European society, they have such contentment, little bit of contentment, that you have a society having less differences in the pyramid, in the wealth pyramid, from top to bottom. But our case is different. We never got the real freedom, actually. We got a geographical freedom, but our common peoples, our farmers, okay, our laborers, they never got the economic emancipation from the poverty. So our intellectuals, though
small in numbers, we are running behind a dream that we have to get the real freedom for our common people. And that's why we're really trying a lot. A lot means a lot, hours after hours. In a year, how much hour I invest in writing, or Parvez and other guys invest, is you cannot imagine actually. So it's like we are really hanging after that dream, that we have to shape our country. We have to shape the structures, the state and autonomous agencies. We have to give them autonomy, this and that. So it's kind of we are in a journey, and we only know the destination, but we don't have any stoppage. So we are just running. So you say debate, yeah, this is all what we try to do. Whoever lives in Bangladesh or outside Bangladesh, everybody, maybe we are not many in numbers, but there are some people who is really running after. Okay, so that may be the difference, because I don't have the contentment in myself that I have a country where the real freedom, economic freedom, the social freedom, the political freedom has been achieved. So that's why my journey is not stepped.
Thanks. That was actually a good conclusion. I'm going to actually end the talk show today, but before I do, I just want to mention one thing. As Rita mentioned about Bonna, who was Ovijit's wife and who was also attacked on 26 February 2015, while trying to save Ovijit. She also lost one of her finger, got wounded, and suffered for it for a long time. And she's actually still suffering. The last year, we actually commemorated Ovijit's death anniversary day on 26 February here by doing a talk show on freedom of expression versus hate speech. That was one of our main topic, and Bonna also joined there through Zoom. She also joined a couple of book fairs by coming here. But this year, she's not one of the main reasons that she's not here, because she actually suffered from a brain hemorrhage last month. She's out of hospital, but I didn't bother her with this current situation. Yeah. So all I ask you guys to pray for her, so that maybe we can meet her in the summer. That's all for today. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks.